Hey everyone, welcome to Legends and More, the podcast. I'm your host, Luke Legend. Today I have a change agent. It's a change agent, right? I have with
Yeah,
me Sears today. Sears, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, honey?
Sears, I'm doing so amazing. I wore pink just for you because it's your
Mm-hmm.
color that you wear. It's like your branding, and so I just want to
Yeah.
be part of the branding today. So you are a change agent. Tell me more. What does that mean?
A friend of mine, she said she heard it at her job at their corporate meeting. She said, "You're a change agent. I'm making, I'm changing things. I'm changing people's lives. I'm not changing the world. I'm changing people who are changing the world." And she goes, "You're a change agent." So I really liked that. And instead of like I don't know, what are some of the other words people use for people that are out there making a difference? And you know what I mean? I
Influencer?
really, yeah, something, okay, that or whatever, but I really like change agent because I'm changing people's perspectives and changing people's mindsets and people's lives.
For sure. And in what ways are you doing that?
Well, so I'm a flatty. After breast cancer, I am living flat after a double mastectomy or an amputation, if you want to call it what it really is, of both breasts. And I chose not to do any kind of reconstruction. And a lot of people choose to do reconstruction and have to have the implants taken out because they're dangerous. They can cause autoimmune diseases, cancers, um, other stuff, and they're flatties now too. So we have flatties in the group that are and uniboobs, solo cups, as sometimes we call them, which is hilarious. But um, they're flat on the one side, so they're flatties. So we're flatties, and I started a group. Next month will be 3 years, October, and we have almost 5,000 members. It's called Flat Out Love, and we do
Wow.
meetups for flatties because they feel so alone because people don't talk about what our grandparents used to do and only have one boob and wear what my mom would always say, falsy. You know, you
Yes.
got your falsy
Yeah.
in or what, and we didn't know our grandparents were living with one breast. We knew grandma
Right.
had breast cancer. That was it. We didn't know anything else. We didn't realize she didn't have a tit,
Right.
and just wore a falsy in there. But people don't talk about the other options because everybody assumes breast cancer is portrayed this way. You get diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're going to lose your hair. You're going to get sick. You're going to get brand new boobies. Free boo job. That's not how. That's there you go. Sorry about that.
Uh, nice.
I didn't realize it did that on this too. Um, but yeah, um, but yeah, it's that's not the reality of it at all
Sure.
of cancer, and so and these movies portray it one way and you're going to get sick, and my friends were like trying to fatten me up before I started chemo. I gained weight. Sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
mean, it's just
Yeah.
no, you don't always lose weight, you gain sometimes, and it threw me in
Yeah.
full menopause at 39. So then you got those hormones and all that other
Mm.
crap, and and it really it changes you a lot. But they don't talk about the other option of going flat a lot of times, and most doctors push implants because how are you ever going to feel like a woman without your boobs? How are you ever going to date again? How are you going to wear a bathing suit? You can't. You're going to
Yeah.
be depressed. More than not, flatties feel more comfortable and confident and more beautiful in their bodies than they ever did before with boobs. I do a
Hmm.
podcast with a Victoria's Secrets model who's boobless after 7 surgeries of trying to get
Hmm.
implants. Because who needs boobs more than a Victoria's Secrets model?
Right.
Maybe a trans woman, but nobody else needs boobs more than a Victoria's Secrets model per se. So
Right.
7 surgeries trying to get them. And she said at the end of one of our recordings, she said to me, I couldn't feel more beautiful than I do now.
That's
And she's still
amazing.
modeling. Yeah, she's still modeling and
So,
stuff.
so as
Yeah.
somebody that's never had boobs, why do you think that is? Why do you think there's an empowerment in having them before and then not having them?
Are you saying you don't have boobs?
I mean, I have my moobs. I have my
Well,
moon boobs, but
everybody has boobs, and everybody, straight or gay, male or female, everybody loves boobs, and that's
mm.
where it is. I was as big of a perv or pig, I guess you would say, about boobs as any person, and so it's ironic actually because I was just people are like, oh, men this, and I'm like, no, it's not just men. Let me tell you a little story about me.
Right.
I ended up getting a booby neck pillow for Christmas the year before I got diagnosed from my then fifth, sixth, seventh, I don't know what he was, brother-in-law. And then I got, can I grab something real quick here?
Yeah, of course.
I got this phone case for my birthday the year before I got diagnosed.
Oh, nice.
And it propped the phone up and
That's, oh, yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. See what I'm
mm,
saying?
yeah.
So when they say, oh, men this, and I'm like, people, people,
Right.
we're all people. And it's funny, we say, save the Tatas, save the Hooters, save second base. How about save the woman?
For sure.
We don't ever think of that perspective. I didn't until after this. And I bought Save the Hooters website for like $700. I got to save them titties.
Yeah, as a man, I honestly don't.
You don't,
I didn't know that. I didn't know pre Michelle Visage. Michelle Visage very famously had hers removed to promote the sicknesses that come with implants, and I truly had no idea. I didn't know it
people
caused
don't.
so many health issues.
These doctors lie to these patients that they're pushing them on. It says on the manufacturer's website, the FDA has a black label box on these implants. And they say that they can cause cancer. They can cause breast implant illness. They can cause autoimmune disease. Christina Applegate, maybe if she wouldn't have gotten implants after breast cancer, maybe she wouldn't be living so sickly with MS.
Right.
What is that? Estrich bar. There's a virus. It's autoimmune. Stevie Nicks got it from her implants a long time ago. That's why she had hers removed.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. I didn't know Stevie Nicks had implants.
I know you're not going to know that. That's a big money industry.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not one surgery. It's a lot. I've
Oh no, I'm
seen
sure.
I've seen people on these breast cancer groups go, well, I'm going for surgery number 7. Hopefully this one they'll take just so you have boobs.
Yeah.
Because
After
society,
2, I would give up.
because
No.
society says women are supposed to have boobs. You know what? No, no. You know what? Men have boobs. Boobs are breasts for women are only there to feed our children.
Right.
That's what they're for. They're not
Right.
fun bags and everything else like I used to think.
Right.
I can't blame anybody else. I've been on both sides of it totally. So when these husbands are like, my friend, she goes, I'm going to get the genetic test because she lost her mom to breast cancer. And she goes, and they were both drunk in the back of my car. I was driving him home, and she's like, he won't like it if I go flat. I don't think. And he's like, will you stop it? I said, no. Hear me out. I get it. That's the thing. You can't say anything that'll offend me because I get it. Both sides of it.
Right.
And it is. But, so many of these spouses, a few of them leave. A friend of mine's wife left her because she didn't have boobs anymore. A few of them leave, male and female. But you know what? A lot of them that stay say they think the flatty is sexier now than they've ever been because of confidence.
Hmm.
Al
Where do
Unser
you think that
Jr.'s,
confidence comes from?
I don't know because you know what? I used to wear bow ties, button it up, like this. Now
Hmm.
I wear things as open as I can. I wear suit jackets with no shirt underneath. I want you to see it. Look at this thing that I earned. I
Do you
don't
almost
know.
think it's like a freedom, like you're shedding weight of some sort of society of I don't know. I
I
just
don't
find that fascinating.
I don't know either. But you know what's funnier? Is I'm more in touch with my feminine side than I ever was before breast cancer.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, very. I was a big hardcore dyke. I got called sir more than I got called anything. I got asked if I was in the
Huh.
wrong. Do you know Pat from Saturday Night
Yeah.
Live?
Yeah.
My life. I got asked if I was in the wrong restroom all the time. And I would get upset back then, because I was just a little boy. Me and my friends would all hold the door for each other and we'd all go, thank you, sir. Because that's what we got called all the time.
Right.
Somebody from the Real L Word, we interviewed on our podcast when we had it. And her pronouns were she, her, sir. And I was like, oh my God, that's genius. That's perfect. That's exactly it. Same age group, same thing. Always called sir.
Yeah.
All of our lives, and I've got misgendered in the last 10 years, because it's been 10 years now, maybe 10 times. And that would have been a
Really?
month before. Mm-hmm. Could be the pink
Huh.
hair. Could be the pink hair. I used to have the short, little dykey, spiky hair, when I was trying to be a dyke, not really, but you know what I mean. I was butch,
Yeah.
stud, whatever anybody wants to. They call all these terms. I don't know. Um, there's too many letters, and I don't know what it would spell if you gave me all the letters that would describe me, because I don't think there's even enough. So it's just Sears, because I don't know. It is.
Yeah.
It's crazy though. It's made me more in touch with my feminine side, and I wear lower cut stuff. I've worn some girl clothes and I would never have worn. I walked in New York Fashion Week in a pair of pajamas, and I wear the other ones that are silky. And my friends are like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I love them." Never would have worn anything like that before.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
take me back to, I am fortunate enough that I have not had any super close contact with, somebody with breast cancer. When you first found out and you were diagnosed, what was going through your head? What was that like for you?
So we'll start off with I'm absolutely not normal at all, and I've
Right.
lived with MS for 24 years now. At
Hmm.
that point, I had lived with MS for 14 years. I was in an MS drug study for 3.5 years. And I don't listen to the side effects. I don't want to know them, because guess what? They're telling you what to have. Whether you're in the placebo or not, they're telling you
Right.
what to feel. That's
Right.
why people in the placebo get the side effects, because you tell them. I don't pay
Hmm.
attention to that. The nurse that would read them to me every time, and I'd just be sitting there on my phone. She's like, Sears. And I'm like, no, I don't care. Well, one of those side effects that she read was breast cancer. I didn't pay attention to it. Um, they immediately kicked me out of that drug study, and that drug never made it to out of trial. So we're
Hmm.
not 1,000% sure, but we're pretty sure that that's what
Yeah.
caused my breast cancer. And you know
Yeah.
what? I wouldn't
Do you
change
have
it.
anger towards that?
I wouldn't change a damn thing in my life.
No.
I hate cancer with every bit of me, but it was the best thing to
Uh,
ever happen to me. I wouldn't change it anything to this point right now. Not a thing. It's
I'm
the
really, I'm
that's
really,
I'm telling you,
I'm really
I'm not
interested in
normal.
that transformation. Where was the shift? Like, was there ever a depression, sadness, anger
Well,
about it?
you got to go back to the original question of when I got diagnosed. So
Uh huh.
I was driving in the car with my significant other at the time, and she backhanded me because I said something smart. I'm like, and I grabbed my boob and said, real funny when I get breast cancer. I'm titty with
Uh,
no titty. Okay. So they used to tell
yeah.
us when I was young that if you got hit in the tit, you could get breast cancer. I used to have to wear cups in my sports bra when I was a boxer. And
Yeah.
so it was a joke I had said many times. And that time there was a knot that stuck up like my knuckle. I was
Uh
like,
huh.
oh, what's that? And I was like, that's not normal. And I just had my family doctor. I didn't have a girly doctor. So I put on Facebook, hey, I need recommendations for a girly doctor. I prefer a gay man with small hands. Um,
Love that.
right? Let's be honest. And so I found one, not a gay man with small hands, but a girly doctor I went to, and I really like her. I still go see her. But I went into her office and I said, and she checked it and she goes, well, I want you to go get a mammogram and I want you to go see a breast surgeon. I said, okay. So we went and I went and got a biopsy and my mammogram and biopsy. And I was sitting there when he took the biopsy, and I was joking with the guy because I am who I am. No matter who I'm with, I'm me at all times, and I talk how I talk.
Right.
Doesn't even matter if I'm in front of the executives of a big pharmaceutical company. I talk how I talk. I'm going back there next week, so not too bad. But they I was joking with him and I said, well, what do you think? And he goes, I don't tell people anything about that. I can't diagnose anybody. I said, I'm not asking you to diagnose me. I'm asking you for your opinion. And he goes, well, you're a pretty straight shooter. He goes, I think it's cancer. I said, so do I. I knew right when I felt it in my gut what it was. I
Right.
don't know why. Breast cancer had never really crossed my mind, except for when I asked for it in 2000 when I was diagnosed with MS, because they didn't know anything. We didn't have smartphones and they didn't know
Right.
anything about MS. I said, I don't want to be a Jerry's kid. And my girlfriend goes, that's MD, you idiot. And I was like, oh, you didn't know anything about MS. And I said, because I was
Right.
paralyzed in the entire left side of my body. And I said, am I ever going to walk again? And they said, that's what all these, the steroids and everything we're trying to, we don't know for sure, but usually, yes, it will come back. That's what we're, And I looked at my mom and I said, I would rather have cancer. They at least know something about that. And if I'm
Sure.
going to have cancer, I might as well have breast cancer. You can just cut those things off and go about your business. Words and things become, or words and thoughts become things. Be
Sure.
careful what you ask for. And so back to that, he said that, and I was like, okay. So I went in and saw the breast surgeon, and she goes, well, it's cancer. And I said, well, I thought so. And she took us into the other room, and I met my nurse navigator, and she had the genetics testing, which is important if you have people in your family that have breast cancer to get a genetics testing, because there are a lot of previvors that go ahead and remove the breast before they get cancer to not have to go through the chemo and radiation and all that other, you know. And
Right.
I mean, I'm that's brave as shit, in my opinion. For them to do that because they don't know for sure. The only thing that bothers me is when they take those out because they may get cancer and they put implants in, and I'm like, well, those can cause cancer. You took one out
Right.
to put,
Right. Right. Right.
anyways. But and I said, okay, I have two questions, and this was 5 minutes, 10 minutes most after I got diagnosed, and they were like, okay, and I said, has it spread, and am I going to die? And they said, you're not going to die, and we don't think it's spread. I said, okay, I need a piece of paper and a pen. And they looked at me, and I got my calendar out, and I wrote down my 5K runs, my trip to Mexico, the mini marathon, Gay Pride Month, and my trip my trip to Vegas. And I said, here's my schedule for the year. Work around it.
Uh,
And they were just dumbfounded because I wasn't like most people when they find out they have cancer. I don't care, male, female, who you are. You're going to cry about it a lot of times.
yeah, it's terrifying.
I lived with MS. Cancer's nothing. It's a drop in the
Sure.
hat compared to MS. There's a
Sure.
chance they could cure me from cancer, not from MS.
Right.
I was like, okay. And a friend of mine goes, why you? You already deal with MS. And I said, why not me? I'm stronger than you, obviously.
You're a really tough person. I've met a lot of
I'm
people, and
stubborn.
you're one tough piece of work. You are a
I'm either
firecracker.
I'm either just stubborn and dumb or just dumb. I don't know.
I
Well,
I think it's
I
your
was in sales
stubbornness.
I was in sales all my life, and you
Oh,
have to have that personality. You can't
yeah.
take no for an answer. Every
Right.
no is closer to yes, and all this other, but the one thing I learned in sales, one of the sayings that's got me through it was, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react.
Right. Yeah,
People don't
for
realize
sure.
that,
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
that's why they make themselves
Yeah.
sick.
I've been working on myself with, trying to remember that situations are not good or bad. Um, they're
Their
just
situations
situations.
and lessons.
How,
The
yeah, how,
lessons.
yeah, they're lessons. But that's really hard for a lot of people to grasp, right? There's a lot of people that push back on it because they don't want that. They don't,
Well, trauma. You have to go. I think it changed me. Cancer changed me for the better. And I always say cancer, but it's trauma will make you better. It'll make you bitter.
right, right,
It's your choice.
right,
So, it was like, okay, I knew it was cancer before they told me. So I was just like, whatever,
sure,
it's a thing. I'm going through it. Um, I'm not going to die. They're going to cure it. I'm going to go about my business. She then did all the tests, and I got to know all the people, and she got all the tests back, and she said, well, we're going to do a chemo, surgery, and then radiation. And I said, I am not doing radiation. My mom had radiation.
yeah,
I didn't know any. I go off my gut. I don't read. I don't watch TV. I don't do all that stuff. And I go off
yeah,
because I talk to a lot of people. So I kind of get their input about things, and I get my own conclusions.
yeah.
And it burnt my mom's nerve endings in her back, and she couldn't hardly walk. And I was like, I'm not doing radiation. She goes, well, we can't do a lumpectomy then. And I said, well, cut it off, and you're taking them both. I have MS. I don't want to be lopsided. I already fall down enough. And so she's like, okay.
Oh my god. Oh god.
She wanted to put a picture of me up on the front door when women would walk in, because she goes, I want them to at least smile once, because my picture, when they took my picture for, I had a when she diagnosed me, I had a going pink for boobies party the week of diagnosis at the hair salon, and like 150 people came out in the news, and I
Oh
went.
my gosh.
My friends all took turns shaving my sides. My lifelong friends since kindergarten, my newer friends, everybody, and my boss and everything came out and took turns shaving it. And I had a pink mohawk first time I ever did pink. I even did pedicure because I knew I was going to probably lose my toenails anyways. People don't know
Oh,
that too. Toenails,
I
fingernails,
didn't know that.
nose hairs, eyebrows. You don't think about nose hairs until the snot just drops out. It's funny,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's funny
I've
because you're
also
like,
heard
what?
of
And
eyelashes sometimes.
oh no, eyelashes, eyebrows,
Yeah.
hair,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of it. Yeah,
It's
some of it's
terrifying.
good. No, it's an experience. These people I see a lot of times they're so devastated because they're losing their hair because that's what they've decided is their femininity. You know what? I know what bald feels like. I can feel what some people feel that are living bald. Because I got to
Yeah.
be bald for a minute. I liked it. It was a words. It was a not journey. It was a experience.
Experience.
That
Yeah.
not everybody gets to experience. Yeah, I was forced to, but
Sure.
hey, it was fun, and I didn't cover up my head because people need to see that anybody could get diagnosed, and there's too much
Uh-huh.
shame that comes with being diagnosed with breast cancer or cancer. I don't know why. It's not like you got an STD at the bar and they won't post about it on Facebook or tell anybody they have cancer. And I'm just like, why? You know what you're doing? You're not helping other people because in the first week, I had 8 people go get their schedule their mammograms because I got diagnosed.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
open your mouth and you could save somebody's life just by saying what you're going through. Oh, I don't want all the poor me. And I said, and then some people are like, oh, I lost friends because this. And I'm like, what kind of friends did you have? Because more came out, I had 150 people there the week that I got diagnosed.
Right.
What kind of friends do you have? But I know I got ADHD. Uh,
No, you're
so
good. Do you ever feel annoyed by the sympathy that people try to give? Do you ever feel annoyed
no,
by it?
no, and I even do a comedy bit about it because I mean, people are always like, "I'm sorry," when they find out I had breast cancer, and I'm like, "Why did you give it to me? I knew you could catch the gay. I didn't know you could catch the cancer. But why are you sorry? Why are you sorry? What are you sorry for? What did you do?
I guess for me, I would say I feel bad that you have to experience that.
That's different than saying I'm sorry.
Well,
You know,
that's true.
well, a lot of my friends that go through this, I'm like, I hate that you're having to go through this. People
Hmm.
say such dumb stuff. It's oh, at least you got the good cancer. My friend's grandma died. Oh,
Oh
my friend's grandma
no.
died of breast cancer. Oh, tell me more horror stories.
Oh.
Um, um, yeah. Oh, yeah. You get a free boob job.
I
Uh,
understand sometimes I understand the people bringing up like different
People
medical things
dying.
that they've experienced because I guess to them it's like they in their head think that they're trying to relate to you and saying, well, I understand on some level or something like that. So they're
But you
trying to make
don't.
a connection. But
But you
the
don't.
people saying stuff like, at least it's the good cancer, that is mind blowing to me. That is wild.
Free boob job.
Wild.
And then
Wild.
again, I don't blow up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love free boob jobs.
the stuff that I've heard and that I have almost 5,000 flatties in my group, and I'm in
Uh-huh.
all the other breast cancer groups because guess what? They don't talk about in those other breast cancer groups, the other option, and not doing all these surgeries over and over and over, and not realizing that you can feel more comfortable and more beautiful and more everything without boobs. And
Right.
it's just it blows my mind because and it's still because I am me, and when I say I go flat, women are like, oh, okay, Dyke, I'm sure that was easy for you, and I get that. I get interviews all the time that said, do they you think that your hospital didn't push you to do reconstruction because the way you present? And I'm like, I would say yes if it was any other hospital, but not my hospital, because I had other friends that went flat after me at the same hospital and they never once pushed them to do implants because they know the dangers and it's a good hospital.
Right. Yeah.
There's very few doctors because surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery makes money. One and done
Well, oh
does
yeah,
not.
correct. But I also feel like it's not talked about enough.
Well,
Like
these
it's not
doctors
more
know it.
well
They're pushing
known.
it. Oh, well, it's getting there. We're working on it.
Good. I
That's
know. I
why I
know.
go
So that's part
topless
of
as much as I can, I
yeah, that's
mean,
right. So
it's
you do so many things. So you got better
ooh,
and you've turned your life into I mean, you are always on the go. You do stand-up comedy, you do fashion shows, you do television, you are everywhere.
It is insane. I was I went live when I was on stage, but on stage, why Imagine Dragons was there on stage, and I was live with them behind the scenes, right there next to their drummer. And somebody goes,
Uh-huh.
"You're live," and I said, "Get cancer." I was a window salesman for 14 years. I would still be doing that if I still had titties.
Yeah.
I would. I'd still be selling windows in patio rooms, making hell of good money, thinking I was happy and thinking I didn't care what people thought about me. I make a quarter of what, not even a quarter of what I made. And I am so much happier and love my life. I used to have a big $250,000 house that I lost in the '08, the recession or whatever
Oh
that,
yeah.
or whatever that was back then. You know,
Yeah.
$250,000 house back then. Yard. It was my dream home. I had the sprinkler system,
Oh
yard,
yeah.
basement, everything. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm moving on up. You know what I mean? And it's and I couldn't be
But you're
happier.
happy. You're
Oh,
happy.
very. And you know what? I've kissed 2 women in 10 years. Never been happier about that. And that's the thing.
Same. Same.
Well, that doesn't count. But it's it's ironic. And a buddy of mine, you probably know him, but he's a comedian, and he said, because we were talking, and I said, I have no desire, and because of all this, none of it works. Instead of a WAP, it's a DAP. We'll just leave it at that.
uh,
Um, it doesn't work. I have no desire. I see people, they're cute, whatever, and they're like, isn't she hot? And I'm like, she's cute. I look at a woman and I look at a man and don't see any difference. Just if I can tell if they're attractive or not, not like sexually though. I don't want it. I don't have any of that. It doesn't work. And so you're telling me cancer is the cure for the gay, and I was like, yeah, kind of, and the straight
oh
for a
my
lot of my other
goodness.
friends. Well, the straight for my lot for other friends, but it's it turns off that whole desire of needing someone there, having to try to find somebody. Whoa, is she upset? Do I need to get her flowers? Do I need to take care of her? Do this? You know what I do? What I want when I went with my money and my time.
I mean, that's the argument that a lot of people that don't want kids make is.
Oh no, keep those away from me. I don't even have a turkey baster at my house. I cannot afford accidents.
Oh, absolutely not. So tell me, how did things start to take off for you? When did people really start to notice that you had a story that needed to be heard?
I don't think it happened like that. It didn't
How do you
happen
think it
like that.
happened?
Well, I was playing poker one night, and it's the three P's, poker, patent, that
Love that.
got me got me to where I'm at now. I was sitting there playing poker on a Friday night at my normal game at the American Legion, and this guy sitting next to me was like, "You're hilarious. You should do comedy." And because I just talk to the mad trash to the guys. He's like, Where's your next show?" And I'm like, "Your mom's house." I mean, I just razzle them. You know how I am. And and
Yeah.
and so he's like, "You're hilarious. You really should do comedy." I was like, "Ah." And this was 7, 8 years ago, and I didn't know what Snapchat was. And there was a guy at the other end of the table that had his phone. He was like, "McAfee." And I looked at this guy and I said, "You do look like Pat McAfee, who was my favorite player at the time." Now, mind you, this was when he was a punter for the Colts back in the day. I didn't know he had started doing comedy at this time either and doing the college tours. And I said, "You do look like Pat McAfee." He goes, "I get told that a lot." So I thought, why would Pat McAfee be sitting at me next to me in the American Legion of Fishers playing 1-2 Texas Hold'em? I didn't know much
Right.
about him. He was my favorite player because he played in drag for the Gay Pride softball games.
Really?
And I went to Colts camp the week after my double mastectomy with my drainage tubes in, and him and Matt Overton stayed until every last person got their autograph that wanted autographs. The other people were off at dinner already, all the other players, but they stayed until
Oh.
every last person got an autograph that wanted her picture. And I was like, he's my favorite player, and that's the jersey I had. So he goes, "Oh, I get told that a lot." So I blew it off, and he just kept on me. And I looked at him and I said, "What is your first name?" He said, "Patrick." It's Irish, just Pat. And I looked at him and I said, "You're a," and he just lost it. I didn't know anything about Twitter. And I said, "Can I take a picture?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I posted it. And he said, Kyle Lewis just tweeted me and said, "You're sitting next to my buddy." I said, "You know Kyle?" He's like, "No, it's on Twitter." And I was like, "You know what I mean?" I was just like, "Oh, you know Kyle too?"
Nice.
But you know what I mean? I didn't, I don't see the forest for the trees. So, anyways, fast forward. He said, "You should do comedy." So I was like, "All right." And I tweeted him. I said, "I'm going to do an open mic." I brought 40 of my friends out. I closed that show, my first ever show, because it was an open mic. That was the only people in the audience were all my friends.
Right, 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 right.
And I was like, "This is fun, it's fun." And I've always liked making people laugh because I am a funny person.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write a joke, but I'm a funny person. So I just regurgitate what I say in real life and do. And then somebody, I'm not naming a name, was a comedian that I had met when I was playing poker at the bars. And I reached out to him and said, "Guess what I finally did?" Because he told me I was funny. I should do comedy. And I said, "I did comedy in front of 40 of my friends." And he heard 40 friends. And he's like, "Bring her." He goes, "Hey, do you want to open for Mike Armstrong, the funny ex-cop? He's a professional, heard on Bob and Tom all the time. 2 shows, Friday and Saturday, and I'll pay you. Can you sell tickets?" And I was like, "Yeah, my friends all want to come see me." I don't care about the game at this point. I don't still,
Right.
I don't care. I opened for a professional my second, third time ever on stage. My fourth time was an open mic, and I walked out of there and said, "If this is what comedy is, I don't want to do it." It was horrible. And then my
Why?
sixth time, oh, it was just, have you been to an open mic? Comics just sitting
I
there
have not.
judging you.
I
And
Yeah, because it's
yeah,
usually
see,
just
that's
other
the thing.
comics that show up.
You you are like me. You've got Riz. You've got something different. You could go and sell at a show right now and not go do
Yeah.
your open mics and your reps and all this
Right.
stuff. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but Pat McAfee had a show at Morty's, and I was like, "Oh, I want to go see him." And me and my friend got to the bar over there early, and I'm like, "Oh, cars are starting to pull up. It's first come, first serve." And so I was like, "We got to get over there," because I wanted to go and sit front row. Maybe he'd recognize me. And after the show, um, we went outside, and I was like, "Shoot, I'm gonna go back in real quick." And he was standing right there when I walked back in. Everybody had left, and I walked back in. I was like, "I feel like you forgot something in the showroom." And so I was gonna walk past him because he's just standing there, and he's like, "Hey, you still doing comedy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You want to open for me tomorrow night?" And I was like, "What?" I said, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, but you better kill it." I said, I will." I may or may not have pooped my pants that day, the
I would
next
have.
day.
I would have.
May or may not. That was earlier on in the day. I still changed before the show, but I didn't even have 24 hours. Sold
No,
out show for Pat McAfee. My sixth time on stage.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then I don't know how things are done. I'm a salesperson. I do what I want and how I want. And so I reached out to his opener who had a show 2 weeks later, Sean Latham, and I said on Instagram, and I said, "Hey, any chance you have a guest spot for me, on your show?" And he's like, "No, we're booked up." And he goes, and then he sent me a message back, and he goes, "Your boy's hosting on Friday. Why don't you do a guest set?" He said, "But you got to do a tight five. You can't run the light like you did on him." I went way over on Pat. I didn't know anything about the light. It
Oh,
was his album recording. I went way over on. I didn't know. I
oh
was having a
no.
I was having a blast.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, well, he had 2 nights to record it. But so I was like, okay. So Pat, my eighth time on stage opened for John Latham, and Pat introduced me on stage. And you shake hands when you go on stage. He hugged me and whispered in my ear, and whispered sweet nothings about me. He said, just have fun."
Lucky.
Is it luck?
I mean, I would love for Pat McAfee to whisper sweet nothings in my ear, but that's just me.
Well, it didn't do anything for me down there because it doesn't work. But
I know.
all my
Totally
friends.
wasted. Totally wasted.
Well, but and I'm just like, and it's the guy that I opened for. I brought people to the second, third show. I messaged him like, "Oh, I'm working for Matt," and he's like, "That's not real life, right?" Well, it feels like it. I had a friend pinch me, and
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, he's not allowed in most comedy clubs in Indianapolis. But anyways, um,
Uh,
so and then a couple months later, I'd worked with a local company here, and they put on shows, and they have a lot of not has-beens, but a lot of people that aren't mainstream. Um,
sure.
like they had Gallagher once, and stuff like that. And they put on good production shows, and I opened for them quite a
Yeah.
few times. And they had Louis Anderson up in Lafayette, and I didn't have anything to do, and I was like, "Meh." I said, "Is he gonna?" I asked him. I said, "Is he gonna do a meet and greet?" And they said, "Yeah, he's gonna do a small meet and greet with the comedians afterwards." You know what I knew about Louis Anderson? He was in Coming to America. I had never seen his comedy.
Yeah, before
I
I'd
don't.
met you, I didn't know who he was.
Well, you're young. How old are you?
I am 33, so I'm not
Yeah,
that
you're
young,
young.
but
Well, you are. He was the host of Family Feud. He had his own cartoon. All this stuff. I never watched Life with Louie the cartoon, and never, I didn't really know much. I knew he was a Fry guy. He was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I didn't know all this
oh,
because I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. I'm busy. I got a lot of things I'm paying attention to. Not like
yeah.
I don't fangirl over. I don't go to all the concerts. The only group I've ever like, oh, I got to go to this concert is Bare Naked Ladies, and I try to go to all of them because I met them a long time ago. I'm a
Nice.
demisexual, as they say, I guess, and that's how I am with people in general. Like,
Yeah.
if I know the comic, I'm going to go and have fun and I'll laugh. But if I don't know the comic, I don't really even want to go usually, or the band,
Yeah.
or if I've met them, it's different, and it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I am though. And, so I was like, okay, I'll go. I went up there. There was like 5 or 6 and I'm me. So I stand back to be the last person in line always, because guess who's going to get more time to talk to people
You.
and they're going to remember. So I was stood back and I was the last one. And he's like, nice to meet you. And he goes, I said, I'm just a new comic out of Indy. And he goes, send me your set. I'll take a look at it. And I'm like, okay. He's one of the top 10 comics of all time. I'm like, okay. And he's like, I'm serious. And I said, okay. So I sent it to him before I left Lafayette. By the time I got back here to 465, I had a ding on my phone. It said, send me your number. I want to talk to you. He called my phone the next day.
Wow.
Well, I looked on Instagram. I followed him that night when he was going to call me. I thought, maybe there's a chance. I didn't think he really would. And I saw he
Right.
was on Baskets on Hulu. And so I started watching that. And he called me and he's like, Lisa? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, it's Louie. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell by the voice. And he goes, are you busy? And I said, I'm just watching Baskets. He's like, perfect timing. Get a piece of paper and pen. I got some homework for you. He watched my set. He loved it. He thinks I'm very talented. He wants me to be on stage 100 times a year. And I'm like, I'm in Indianapolis. That's not going to work. Um, you know what I mean? I'm like, and he goes, okay, at
Right.
least 50. And he's like, when's your next set? I said, I'm actually in the quarterfinals at Morty's on Wednesday. He goes, okay, call me Tuesday. We'll go over your set together. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
Right.
Just, okay, first Pat, open in for Pat. Okay. And I called him on Tuesday, and my sister happened to be there, and I could hear in the bedroom going, she's on the phone with him. I can hear him, and I'm like, is this real life? And so he helped me with some of my bits and everything. And he goes, call me and let me know how you did, honey. And I was like, I had a great set. I said, I didn't win, but I had a great set. And he's like, good. I sent it to him. I would send him bits and everything. And we got to be really close and really good friends. He was actually going to help. He was actually supposed to write the forward for a book I was supposed to be working on that's somewhere in piles of something somewhere with my ADHD, my doom piles.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he actually wanted to do it. He loved the Flatties thing, and this was before I hadn't even started Flat Out Love yet. This is when I was going to just the meetups that in California when they were doing them and stuff like that. And he loved it, and he goes, he goes, honey, I have an idea. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I want to produce a show for you, and it was going to be about us Flatties. But back up a little
Wow.
bit. So I saw him there, and then 2 weeks later, he was in Illinois, and I sent him a message, and I said, hey, if I come to Illinois, will I get to see you? And he's like, oh, honey, how many tickets do you want? I'll leave them at will call for you. And I didn't.
Aw.
Here's me. I don't see the forest for the trees. I didn't realize the magnitude of that.
Right.
I tell my therapist, I'm not dumb. I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just like I just don't. I'm just like, do, do,
I would have
do. This is.
flipped. I would have absolutely lost it.
I asked a couple of people if they could go, and nobody could go, and I was just like, whatever. So I went by myself. I had a ticket. Louis
Oh yeah,
Anderson
I would
left
have.
me tickets. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even think to keep trying to call people or anything because I didn't even magnitude of what it was didn't even dawn on me really.
Right.
It's been a lot like that since that too. But I went, and then after the show, he's standing there and he's selling his merchandise, and I stood back because I didn't want to take away from the people who paid.
Right.
And I sit in his seat. And he's like, Lisa, it was at the end. He goes, Lisa, get over here. And went over there and we'd taken pictures. Some guy offered to take the picture. And as we were we were getting together to take the picture. He goes, you're really terrific. Don't ever doubt that. Keep your phone on live when you take pictures. It
Oh
caught
yeah.
him saying that to me. I have that on video. I turned it into a live picture, a video now where he
Yeah.
says, you're really terrific. Don't ever doubt that. And it was a picture that somebody was taking and it caught that. And I was just like, oh my God, then he was the next time we talked off and on and everything. And, here and there and worked on bits and stuff. But he's like, you should be doing speaking all over the country. He said, you should be telling your story, It was before it was the story that it is now. This was earlier
Right.
on. And then he was up at Firekeepers up in Michigan a little bit later. And I was like, oh. And so I asked Charlie Hester, my comedian friend at the time, if she wanted to go with me. And we went backstage beforehand and before the show, because he did the meet and greet before. And then we went up to our seats and they ushered us up front row center 2 seats,
Wow.
looking at us the whole time he's on stage. And then he goes, my funny comedian friend Lisa came all the way from Indianapolis and brought her friend Charlie, who sings a song about farts and what? And I said, sometimes she farts during sex. And he goes, sometimes she farts during sex. And the audience just lost it. Big theater, right? Big
Yeah.
theater. And somebody goes, we can't see them. He goes, turn the house lights on. Girls, stand up. And I looked at her. She looked at me and I'm like, and she's like doing the princess wave. And I turn around. I'm just like, we were on the big screen. And then they took us out the front, out that way because we had to go to the bathroom. And so he took us, the usher that came up, took us out the other way. And people were like thinking we were like real famous fans.
Right.
And I'm just like, is this real life? It's just crazy. But the next day, her and I, he texted me. Let me just say that. And in the green room, before the show, his knees were bothering. He goes, they're not made for this size model. And he was popping like Advil or Tylenol or something. I
Uh,
said, do you want to hit my pen? And he goes, I can't go on stage with that. And I said, I can't go on stage without that because my MS had gotten so bad, I was struggling to walk. When you first met me, I probably was on a cane, wasn't I? And struggled to get on stage.
I think I saw you once on a cane. Yeah.
And I struggled to get on stage. There was a point that I couldn't walk. And cannabis saved my life, and that's the thing too that I try to explain to people. Everybody's like, oh, the worst thing, cancer. And I'm like, oh, I never tried to take my life because of cancer or wanted to. I didn't try. Almost did because of
Right.
MS and because of
MS.
losing
Yeah.
my mom. Never because of cancer.
Right.
That was never I'm going to take my life. This is so bad thing where, when I couldn't walk and I was having to pull myself to my car on my stomach and I couldn't get dressed by myself. And my neighbor was having to come pick me up and put me back in bed. That's a lot worse than going through cancer, which is like 9 month
Right.
journey. Hopefully, if they get it all and stuff like that, that's what I said. It's going to be 9 months. You guys carry babies that long. I can do this, you know.
Right.
And but I said, "Do you want to hit this?" He goes, "I can't." And I said, "I can't go on stage without it." And he goes, "Do you talk about that on stage?" I said, "No, because comics are always talking about their penises and weed, and that's all they talk about." And he goes, yeah, but you would talk about it in a different way. I said, yeah, well, it's still illegal in Indiana. And he goes, yeah. And I said, but I have gone to the state house and told him in front of everybody in the state house that, I use it for medical purposes and it helps me walk. And so he texts me the next day and he goes, honey, will you send me the pictures you took of me in the green room? And I said, sure, because I got him a hat that said it was from Sears and Roebuck, and I got him a couple hats because he used to do Hat Day Sunday. And I said, sure. And I said, hey, if you have a small part for a funny homo on baskets, I'd be down. He said, send me your headshot and resume. And
That's
that's how I got an IMDb credit. My first one.
right.
Like a couple
Yeah.
months later, I got an email from the casting director that said, your information's been passed along. We'd like for you to audition for the part of livid protester. Because he knew I went and protested for medical marijuana.
Yeah.
And I got that part. And that was amazing. So I ended
Yeah.
up working with him on baskets and Zach Galifianakis.
That love Zach. Love Zach. It's amazing.
I had never acted
That's
a
so
day in my
cool.
life.
Yeah.
I went, yeah, that's a whole story, but this podcast probably isn't that long. I could go on for days. But anyways, so did that, went to another Flatty meetup in California, and one of the directors there was doing a short film. And she goes, oh, I should put you in it. So me and another Flatty got to be in the end of it. which was cool. So that's another IME. And then
Nice.
another flatty was over, was helping with the Indy 500 racing team. That was a female driver and all mostly female crew. Where the first women going over the wall at the Indy 500, and they did a big commercial. And she called a bunch of her friends to be in it. And she called me and asked me if I wanted to be in it. I was like, yeah. If there's
It's
an opportunity to
amazing.
be on camera or an opportunity to help spread word about flatties, I will do it. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care what the camera's for unless it's like OF or feet finder. I'm not doing that. Just because I have chemo toes, chemo toenails. I can't do it. Otherwise, I'm
You don't
fine.
want to show off that dap? You don't want to show
Right?
that
No,
off
no,
for on
no,
camera?
no.
How did you get
Yes.
into New York Fashion Week? Where did that come
Uh,
from?
so I meetup I put on was in for Flat Out Love was in Colorado. It was on the largest flat top mountain in the world, and I was like, let's put on the
Oh,
largest
nice.
flatties meetup in the world, right?
It's funny.
And
Yeah.
and then the guy at CrossFit. Anyways, he told me about his wife felt beautiful when she came home from getting her hair done usually, and that was the only time she really had the confidence. And I was like, I want to get the flatties that confidence. And I was like, ooh, let's put on a fashion show. And I didn't know what flat designers there were. And I found this company called Ana Ono, which is the owner's name is Dana Donfrey. It's Ana Ono is her name minus her double D's. And
Oh, okay.
because she's
Yeah.
a survivor. And they make they're boob inclusive. They make bras and lingerie. Lingerie, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Lingerie for all boob types: mastectomy, lumpectomy, single, double, implants,
Oh,
whatever.
nice.
Yeah. And so I called her, I messaged her. I said, hey, is there any chance that, you know, you would want to donate some clothes for this? I just want to make these flatties feel beautiful and everything again for one day, even if that, if that's it.
Yeah.
She said, I'm going to copy my right hand, put my assistant on here. Come to find out, that assistant is somebody I'd met on TikTok, and I had asked about coming to the event to sing her song about her breast cancer, about survivor's guilt, because that's big. I met her on TikTok, and that was her right hand person. I'm like, "Are you serious?" She goes, "Sears," and I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Absolutely." And then she goes, "Did you say you want Tomboy X?" And I was like, yeah, because not all of us are femme. I want everybody to feel comfortable that wants to be in it.
Right.
I want anybody that wants to be able to be in it that can. If they're small, big, short, tall, fat, skinny, one boob, two boobs, no boob, not two boobs. There's no two boobs in our group. But I wanted anybody that wanted to, femme or not. And she goes, did you say Tomboy X? And I said, yeah. She goes, I can introduce you to the owner. I'm friends with her. I stood up in the middle of the Zoom call, and I still have it on video. And the head of Tomboy X, and everybody's seen it. I stood up and undid my pants in the middle of the Zoom call. First time I'd met this person, and pulled down my pants to show her my Tomboy X boxers I had on at the time. And she was dying. She's like, I love
Nice.
you so much. But she donated clothes. Tomboy X did, and I did this fashion show. Well, she made these I have a bunch of her stuff that has boobs on them, and she
Are you
makes
saying
this
fashion, like flat fashion?
flashing. Yeah, because I always put the
Fashion.
L in
Love
there
it.
for flashing. I say
I love it.
flannelly. I like to be different.
Yeah. No, I love
You
that.
you
I
stand
think
out
that's
when you're
so cool.
different. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so she had these pajamas, and everybody, they're silky and they have boobs on them. And I wear them all the time. And we went cross country, and I had them on. I sent her. Monday will be a year. I sent her. It was Labor Day, and I sent her a text, and I said, hey, because I knew her from her donating. I sent her a text because she was having a fashion show in New York Fashion Week. And Christine Handy, the Victoria's Secrets model, said, I'm going to be gone, Fashion Week. She goes, you should come hang out with me. And I was like, I should come hang out with you. I never said
Yeah, of
New York
course.
Fashion Week a day in my
Of
life before
course.
that. I could care less about that. I didn't. Paris Hilton could have walked up to me. I wouldn't have known who she was, you know.
What?
And J Lo could
How do
walk
you
up to me, and I'd be like, "Oh, you look familiar." I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" I don't know where I met you, out of place. I don't know. Just like McAfee, I
Sure.
didn't realize that's who it was. But
Yeah.
because I meet a lot of people, and I don't know. I don't fangirl. I don't watch TV. Most people would have a TV there,
Oh, you have scissors. You have a giant thing of scissors on your wall. Oh,
and
for
I'm not.
cutting off the boobs. Got it.
No,
No.
loser. You of all people, and I'm not a hairdresser. Scissoring lesbians. Okay, never mind. Anyways, let's go ahead.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. Nope. I got you. Took me a minute. Listen, there's many aspects to you. You're like a diamond. There's multiple sides. You never know what the scissors could be for. Okay. You
You're
never
right.
know.
No, you're funny. You're the second person who came up with that one. But because anyways, that's a long story. But I mean, that's where TV normally goes. No, I got my scissors because it's
So
funny. I don't care.
what is the end goal for you? Maybe I shouldn't say end goal. That's a horrible thing to say. What is the goal in life? What is the legacy that you're wanting to build and create?
I've got two thoughts in my head. Let me go with the end goal.
Okay.
The end goal, because the end goal is when I'm dead, right? In the legacy.
Sure.
But the end goal is my celebration of life because I don't want a funeral. You know,
Right.
um, people are like, because I'm going to get cremated. Well, what if we want some of your ashes? I said, y'all can have a tablespoon full, but you've got to realize, within those ashes are probably going to be part of my walk. Um, I mean, I have Louis Anderson's ashes in a bracelet, and I'm like, I probably got part of his penis in there. They
Maybe you
don't
never
separate
know.
it. They don't separate it.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah. But I went to silent disco, and they did a Sears look-like competition at the last meetup, and it was the most amazing thing, and we all laughed so hard, and everybody laughed. So my memorial is going to have a silent disco, and everybody better come dressed up at me, and there's going to be costumes at the door. If you don't have your pink mullet wig, you're going to have to put it on before you come in, because why wouldn't you come to my celebration of life to look like me and dress up like me? Because that is freaking hilarious. You can't
For
sit there and
sure.
cry and, oh, you know what? My therapist said, you have a lot of loss. And I said, how lucky am I? Have you heard The
Hmm.
Dance by Garth Brooks?
I have. Hmm.
Can't have one without the other, can you?
Sure.
I'm lucky to have that much love or that much loss, because that means I have that much love.
Right.
People that aren't mourning those many people because they don't have all those people.
Right.
I would rather have that much loss, because then I have so much more that leads up to that. We're all
So what do
dying.
you right. So what do you recommend for people that are just finding out about this stuff or they've recently been diagnosed? Where should they start to look for support like the kind that you offer?
Well, we don't offer it to anybody except for if they are flat already. We're not going to sit here
Okay.
and. So here's the thing, and this is the way I say it, and it comes off really wrong, but you got to hear me till the end. I don't give a
Sure.
about anything else but an actual flatty after they've gone flat. I don't care about your
Mm.
breast implant illness. I don't care about your diagnosis, going through it, and all that stuff. I sit through so many chemos, so many surgeries, so it's not, I do. But my focus and my what my thing is to help flatties after they've gone through it, because they feel so alone, and they feel like they're not whole, they're not confident, and they like this to hide, sit like this a lot.
Yeah.
Just my thing is to make them feel good about themselves again, and realize that there's other people out there, they're not alone. But with that comes all the other stuff, you know
Right.
educating people about flat, because they're going to see us, because we're not hiding anymore. Educating them about breast implant illness, because half of my group had it and almost died. Chris, her
Right.
vision switched, and she drove down the wrong side of the street. Kim wanted
Right.
to throw herself in front of the L train because it was so miserable. She was so bad. Um,
Mhm.
so that stuff all comes along with it. But my focus is this: that other stuff just comes with it, because you can't talk about one without the other. I don't well know, because I didn't research. I would say make sure you educate yourself. If you're, the biggest thing is advocate for yourself, because doctors at the end
Yeah.
of the day are practicing doctors,
Mhm.
right? They're practicing
Right.
doctors.
Right.
They know textbook,
They don't know
and,
you.
they haven't been through it in your shoes, and not all of them even. Um, they don't know what they don't know, and a lot of people don't go to the doctor and go, oh, I got the head sores, but I got them on my head too. They're embarrassed to tell the doctor that they got some of the mouth sores down there, or they're embarrassed to say that this happened, or they it smells like poison when you go pee. And they're embarrassed to say, oh, my stuff doesn't work. Women notoriously are embarrassed. I mean, they don't even want to post that they had breast cancer half the time. So, we don't tell them, and so they don't know. And a lot of times they just want to think with their doctor brain, because this is what textbook says, so this is what it is. 1 in 8. No, it's not. There's no way it's 1 in 8. It's a lot higher than that. And men get breast cancer too, so you got to make sure you fill
Yep.
your cans.
Yep.
I had a, they get it when it's worse because they don't find it soon enough, and then it metastasizes. And a friend of mine was 20 something years old. He got it from his father. His father's genes gave it to him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it
So
metastasized. He
Sears,
was 20 something. So,
where
yeah.
can people find you? Like if they want to look up more about you, where can they find you on the internet?
I don't know. Flatoutlove.org is my group, and you can go there.
Okay.
You can make donations. You can just see us, and there's resources on there. We have resource links on there that, because some people want aesthetic flat closure is what the term is. I've never called it that. I didn't call it flat. This was 10 years ago. Now it's called aesthetic flat closure. We have a list of doctors who are recommended that have done this for patients, because some of these doctors should not be practicing. There
Sure.
should be so many classes. These doctors maim some of these women so much that it's horrible. Flat denial, because, oh, you might change your mind, and they leave extra skin when she says she wants to go flat.
Oh
Um,
God.
oh, some of this, it's it's
You
horrendous.
said
It really is.
flatoutlove.org.
That's the group website. Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm Sears underscore Sears double underscore, short in the front, long in the back, because I am the Indiana State Fair mullet champion. Forgot about
Love
that.
that.
That's another flex. Oh, yeah. I haven't finished half my stories we started, so I'm sorry about that. But
No, it's okay. Why don't
Lisa
you
with two
hang out
S's,
with me?
Sears.
Oh,
Lisa with two
perfect.
S's,
Yes.
Sears. But you can follow me on the Facebook, the Book of Face, and I don't know. No, I'm kidding. No.
Can people reach out to you and ask questions and say hi?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And I mean, I have a lot of friends that recommend people to me to call me if they just get diagnosed, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I didn't tell you though about the fashion show I'm putting on in New York in October.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that on a next
Yeah, we got to
episode.
do
How
that.
about
We got to
that?
do that because
Uh,
it's so cool. So I got a
will
big
you
news on
hang
that.
out with
So
me? I'm
I
going to
will.
say goodbye to all of our wonderful listeners. Please make sure to follow us on YouTube. I am Luke Legend. This is the Legends and More podcast. Always remember, anyone can be an icon, but it takes somebody with heart to be a legend. So until next time, thank you for listening. We'll see you later.